Today's episode, you'll be seeing an interview I did with Chuck Zukowski, the UFONUT. Chuck has some interesting points of view. He's had experiences everything from Sasquatch to UFOs, cattle mutilations, and a few paranormal events. So we hope you enjoy the interview. Hi, this is Leon Drew with Crypto Tracker Chronicles. I'm here with Chuck, the UFONUT, and he's agreed to talk to us this afternoon. We're both here, been presenting at Pikes Peak Area Paranormal Convention, and thought we'd sit down and interview him and talk about it. Well, Chuck, I really appreciate you doing this.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
So go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, let's see, what can I say? There's so much about it. No, I design microchips, and I'm an IC mass design engineer. That's what I do full time. So I've been doing that almost as long as I've been doing UFO investigations, about 29, 30 years. I was working in California until about 15, 16 years ago, came out here to Colorado and picked up a job out here. And when I came out here to Colorado, there's just so much more going on out here in Colorado than was in California where I was, that I got more interested in other aspects of ufology, which is cattle mutilations, and then eventually ghost investigations and some pretty cool stuff like that. So I guess from the research aspect, I've been doing it for a few years. That investigation probably last 20, 25 years.
Right.
Or so.
Was there any one event that started you on this path?
Well, that's a very good question. Ever since I can remember, I've always had a fascination with UFOs. I don't know why. But I always have, and as I got older, and I have, there's 6 kids in our family. That out of the 6 kids, only my sister and I became UFO investigators. She's an investigator in Missouri, and I'm out here now in Colorado. The other 4 really haven't. And 2 of them now do, just because we do. But basically, it turns out maybe my sister and I might have seen something or experienced something. When we lived in a small town in Arizona, that maybe pointed us into this direction or this profession. And it's not really, it is a profession, but it's not really a paying profession. Although maybe next year might be for me. Right now, this year's been really, really good for me. I've been doing this for a while now, that it takes a while as an investigator before people start recognizing your material, just like maybe a songwriter or a singer. Right. And so over the years, I host UFONUT.com, and every one of my investigations, I put out there open to the public, free to the public. I don't charge anything. Today when I lectured, I just told everybody, this is on me. I'm not charging anything. I just wanted people just to understand what's going on out here, learn a little bit about what I do, and then I prefer just if people were more aware of what's going on outside their back door, basically.
Right. Now, some people may think you look familiar. I know you've appeared on a couple of different TV shows, and could you tell us what those were? Yeah,
a few years ago, 2002, I was on the Sci-Fi Channel. It was a 1-hour documentary. I was on it with my sister. It was Roswell Starting New Evidence. And then I think I was on UFO Hunters once, and then I've been on the Sci-Fi Channel again, the Science Channel a couple times. I was on year before last, and then I was on 3 separate times last year. And Nat Geo, and then one of my investigations was on finding Bigfoot on the planet, and that was the Bailey Bigfoot investigation. That was pretty cool. Because of my investigations, actually year before last, when I was on the Science Channel, I was doing it was just a short segment on animal mutilations, and right now I'm one of the leading animal mutilation investigators in the United States. I'm a deputy director of animal mutilations for MUFON International, which is a nationally known organization. MUFON stands for Mutual UFO Network. And so I was doing an animal mutilation type of investigation scenario for the Science Channel 2 years ago, and I touched on this 37 parallel, a 37-degree latitude theory I have, where it almost seems like we have this paranormal highway going across the United States, where we've had these mutilation cases, where we've had UFO sightings, underground military bases, possible alien bases, all kinds of nifty stuff going on. So basically, I talked a little bit about that. The Science Channel was so intrigued with that they this last year, in 2014, they asked me. They said, "Well, do you have any more info on it?" I go, "What do you want? I'm an investigator." And I gave them 2-3 pages of of sightings and the GPS coordinates and on and on and on. They went, well, this guy's got data to back up his claims. I went, well, that's what I do. You know, you have to be able to satisfy the skeptics, right?
Right. Exactly.
Debunkers, you can forget about. They'll say whatever they want to say. You can have a picture of a Bigfoot, and they'll still say that's a guy in a suit, right?
Right.
But a skeptic, if you give them enough information, it makes them think. I'm married to a skeptic, so I have to be a little bit better than a lot of investigators. I really have to do my job. So I did this little, I gave this little presentation to the Science Channel. I gave them the information. They were so excited about it that they decided to do a 1 hour special, 1 hour show, just on me and my investigations. So for 2 weeks, I was with a production crew out of England, Raw TV, and we started in Illinois and in Missouri, and then we ended up in Nevada, Area 51. We were just outside the west gate of Area 51, and then Dulce, New Mexico, and we were all over the place.
Talking about Dulce, New Mexico, there's a couple of researchers I know that have done the Bigfoot research down on the Navajo reservation in that area and the whole plateau down there. They've talked about where they thought that there was an alien base inside the Dulce Plateau. What's your take on that?
Well, what I do know is, you know, I had actually had researched and investigated Dulce years ago, even before I moved to Colorado. And there's been something going on in Dulce, New Mexico for a long time. But recently, when I was just there last year, we actually covered Dulce on the science show. And I can tell you this, doesn't matter who you talk to, they'll tell you there's a base there. It doesn't matter if it's the Native Americans, the Hispanics, or whoever that lives there, they'll say there is a base there. Now, it depends on who you talk to that will tell you whether or not it's alien or not. The Native Americans will tell you right off that there's alien intervention. There's an alien human base there. Some of the Hispanics will say yes. Some of them will say it's just a military base. But from my point of view, didn't matter who I talked to. Everybody agreed there was a base there, and that's all. I'm happy about that. So now we can work with that. We also had Bigfoot sightings in the area too, because you have the Jicarilla tribe is in Dulce, and so, but where the base is the Jicarilla tribe comes up. You have the Dulce Mountain there, but just on the other side of the Dulce Mountain, almost on the Colorado side, is a Ute Indian reservation, and we can't get on there, so we couldn't get on last year either. They won't let investigators on that Ute side where the supposed base is.
Right. And that's all part of that Archuleta Plateau.
It's all part of the Archuleta Plateau, and we had to 4x up there. It took us a good 45 minutes to 4x up this old fire road. It's not old, it's used because they have cell towers on top.
Right.
Matter of fact, it was probably the one time I had the best coverage the whole time I was, because there was the cell tower I was using.
And you talked about MUFON now. A couple of guys higher ups in MUFON, I can't think of the gentleman's name, that do the UFO TV show pretty regularly.
Oh yeah, Jan Harzen is one of them.
I know they did an episode up there, and they actually went on top of the plateau. And they actually, if I remember correctly, I could be remembering this wrong, they found what they thought were vent shafts.
Well, what that was they didn't get that far.
Okay.
You know, there's I'm not quite sure if they actually were there or not, and that might have been because we knew the area where some vent shafts were. The problem is, and I didn't see the episode, but they would have had to have got to be able to get where the vent shafts are. You would have to have a Native American guide.
Right.
You would have to also have a BLM representative with you. And you have to have a permit. So, if they got that all figured out ahead of time, then you would have been in the area where the vent shafts were. We didn't have enough time to do that for our shooting schedule, but we were far enough back where we knew that the actual Dulce base was just on the other side of the mountain where we were. I did see pictures of the vent shafts. I interviewed a rancher in the area that had pictures of shooting towers that was near an entrance of the base. I mean, we live in Colorado, and I'm not really an avid hunter, but I've seen shooting towers, and you can go to Cabela's and Bass Pro Shops, and you can see what they have. These things were made out of steel. They had bulletproof glass, and the metal staircase going up was shielded on both sides. So, you know, if you were under fire, you could duck, and it was in an area where there was one on each side.
Oh, wow.
And there was 4 of them. And so we couldn't get to that area because that was off limits to us. That was on a reservation part where we just couldn't get there at that time to be able to film that. It took a while to get the permits we needed to be where we were, you know, up on the Dulce Mountain. If the MUFON group was able to get up there, you know, they got to see the events firsthand. I just got to see them, you know, via pictures.
And they did have a native guide. I remember that portion of
You would have to, because it would be trespassing.
Right. And one of the things that I've noticed looking at maps and stuff, you know, I was career military, so when I'm looking at, you know, the satellite images and everything, you know, I'm looking at roads and you just, you know, that's where my military mind kicks in. But I noticed that between Dulce, San Luis Valley, and Colorado Springs, you got almost direct straight line down.
It's really interesting. You know, I interviewed John Rhodes, who was an investigator and has been researched and investigated Dulce really, you know, quite intensive. And between him and John Lear, you know, who's the son of Old Man Lear,
Right.
Lear Jets, they absolutely believe that there's an underground tunnel from Dulce, New Mexico to Area 51. Not only going in that direction, but also going towards, you know, the Taos area too, so we can go in further. You remember the Taos hum?
Right.
Okay, well, the Taos hum, which happened a few years ago, people that lived in the town of Taos could hear this low hum. Not everybody.
Right.
You know, I couldn't, because I had some really good garage band days. So, you know, I lost some certain frequencies.
The Taos hum is an elusive low-frequency humming sound that is heard by some of the residents in the town of Taos, New Mexico. Many describe the low-frequency humming sound as irritating. The hum was first reported in the early 1990s. Similar humming sounds have been reported around the globe.
So after interviewing John Rhodes and John Lear, they talked about an underground tunnel system from Dulce Base to Area 51, and then the other direction too. This is that east-western paranormal highway, 37th degree latitude,
Right.
that I was talking about on the Science Channel last year. And we have a lot of evidence, not only from their own research, but also from the local Native Americans that live, you know, that see things all the time. So we do know that there's some type of activity there. Now, we do know also that there might be something going up towards Colorado Springs. The reason for that is because of Cheyenne Mountain. During the Cold War, I know for a fact that from Cheyenne Mountain to Schriever Air Force Base, we have underground tunneling systems. We've had enough information because of the Cold War that they needed an underground tunneling system to go from Cheyenne Mountain to Schriever or Peterson. And if you go under some certain buildings in downtown Colorado Springs, some of the older ones, I interviewed one person who was a proprietor of one of the buildings, and he went down to the basement, and there was another set of stairs in the basement, like a lower level. And he wanted to know what the heck that was. He had an internet company at the time. So he went down the lower stairs, and as he started walking down the stairs, it was all concreted off. So whatever was down there, they filled it with concrete.
Right.
Which
Well,
would be an entrance to the tunneling system,
Yeah.
because the building that he was leasing at the time used to be a military building. It was a government building.
Right. Now, downtown Colorado Springs, we had Air Force Base, which is where the Olympic Training Center
Sure.
is now.
Sure.
And yeah, I know there was research going on. I've actually talked to a gentleman that he was telling me that his father was part of the ones that were developing some of the machine guns for some of the fighters and stuff, and that was going on here at Fort Carson and Peterson stuff. So
Yeah,
there's
actually,
a lot of strange things
Well,
going
there
on.
is. I think I actually know of an area where I think might be a prior missile base. Because we did know that back during the Cold War, we had a couple of missile bases there in Colorado Springs to protect Cheyenne Mountain,
Right.
right? And I think I know an area. It hasn't been built up on. It's got vents. So something's down there venting. It's not a mushroom field.
Right.
So something they're venting, and they haven't built up in the area. And talking to some of the locals there, they said, well, you know, from what they think, there was some military activity there once upon a time.
And, they may have expanded, I'm local here to Cripple Creek, so and I'm a huge history buff here, so I know some of the mining history here. There was actually a water tunnel for draining off the mines that was built from Colorado Springs, from Cripple Creek and Victor, that goes all the way down within 10 miles of Colorado Springs.
Wow,
And it was called Carlton Tunnel, actually, the ones that were involved here at the Imperial.
yeah. That would make sense because over in Rock Rimmon, there's a lot of mining involved in there, but we also had a lot of caves,
Right.
And we have a lot of caves up here. So a lot of the mining, or I don't want to say really the mining, but a lot of the bases that I've been investigating that have to do with, maybe military or alien or whatever, they're in areas where we already had some type of caverns already pre-existing, which would make sense. You already have a water supply, and you already have Mother Nature's caverns, so that you can utilize some of the caverns, and help tunnel that out rather than.
And also places to store debris from tunneling, because you got to get rid of the dirt.
You got to get rid of the dirt too, which the Dulce thing, we knew that they were basically getting rid of the dirt in one of the caverns, which would make sense
Right.
because the area where Dulce is, there's also caverns there, and you would have areas where you could probably dump the dirt down.
Right.
But it would really make sense. Out of here, I didn't, until just now, I didn't know that we had, an actual passageway from here, from the creek to Colorado Springs. That's good to know.
Yeah, and it was.
Somebody can't open that up and just shoot down it, during the summertime.
It would be, I'd love it, because I work down in the Springs, and it's an hour drive for me around.
Yeah, so you just that'd be our own rapid transit
That would be
system.
nice. Now, of all your experiences and stuff you had, what would be the most strange or the scariest thing that you've experienced?
Well, I tell you, I actually talked about that. I've done a lot of things from Bigfoot. Bigfoot's kind of scary
I
to
understand
to
that.
aliens. I mean, I'll tell you a Bigfoot story right after I mentioned. One of the most scariest things I've actually done is ghost investigations. And the reason for that is because I can tell you now that I've had to do ghost investigations because I was doing investigations on people who said they've had aliens and interactions with certain type of entities, and I had to make sure that it was not it was not spiritually associated, and it was actually alien or something that I would do. So I had to learn how to do ghost investigations so I could differentiate between two. No, you have a ghost, or it's a haunting. No, you got an alien, or you got something going on, right? And that's how I got a little bit of ghost investigations. And so at my lecture today, I was talking about that. And the one thing about ghost investigations is there's really no way to combat the ghost at this point. They pretty much have full reign unless, I have some ideas, but Bigfoot investigations, if you get encountered with a Bigfoot, he's going to come after you. You still have an opportunity of fighting. Either kick him in the groin or whatever, or shoot him in the knee, or however you want to do it. You still would have a slight fighting chance to get away. But when you have ghosts, and if you don't close out a ghost investigation properly, they'll follow you home.
Right.
And then you go, uh-oh, I've got company, and they'll stay as long as they want to stay. And eventually, if their curiosity is over, then they go back to where they came from. At least with Bigfoot, I always know from the back of my mind. First off, I've only heard two cases where recent cases where Bigfoot has attacked humans, and both cases, one was hunting and one was just another bizarre case. But if you go back to the Native Americans, some of the Native Americans in this area, well, not this particular area, but further up towards the Tennessee area, they talked about where in some cases tribes had agreements with Bigfoot clans. In other cases, there was fighting. I interviewed a person a couple of years ago who had hiked up the Himalayas, and he had talked to one of the Sherpas that was working with him, and he was just jokingly about abominable soulmans, which is a Bigfoot living.
Right.
And the Sherpa says, absolutely. First off, they didn't joke about it; they were very serious about it. And he says, "There's only certain ways that we can take you up. There's other ways too, but we're not allowed in that area because their ancestors had this big battle over real estate, and they lost. But basically, the agreement was you stay out of my territory, and they'll leave us alone. And to this day, there's certain areas over there where the Sherpas won't take you because of that.
And those are some of the bravest guys you could
Oh,
run across.
absolutely.
Amazing.
So we know we have this out here. We know that, you know, the Fairplay area is one of the hot spots all the way down to, you know, Estes Park, right?
Right.
I've had the one event, the really cool event I had over in Bailey, Colorado, was, you know, we had actually it was Golden, Colorado. We were in Golden, Colorado. We had a person, a witness that had Bigfoot sighting, and he was an avid hiker, you know, so he was way back. So we're up in Golden, and we 4x up and stopped, and then we hiked back a good hour and a half to this area where he had this encounter, and you could clearly see. You could see the trail markers. The trail markers are 8 feet above, right? You can clearly see that. We're following the trail markers, and the trail markers followed the stream. It's really cool around all these big boulders. And so we got around the stream, and I was with my buddy Joe Fix, who's an investigator out of Denver, and then we had we had the witness, and then we had a kid with us who we were teaching. He's not with us anymore doing investigations because he got scared. But the bottom line is we heard something come up on us.
Right.
Because we found a fresh marker. And so Joe and I talked, I go, Joe, let's all walk out together, out the way we came in. We'll follow the stream around, and remember where that fallen log over the stream was? He goes, yeah. I says, as soon as we get past that log, the other two people, the witness and the kid who we were training at the time, they keep on talking and make it sound like we're all together still, and we're gonna hide. We'll hide around the log where all the brush is. It was really thick out there. Okay, so I have my camera and we're all set up. And we're talking, la, 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 la. As soon as we passed the log where all this thick brush was, and trees, we hid, and the other two guys kept walking and talking to us. Walking away. We'll get him, right? So we're there, we're quiet. And you can hear the stream, and also hear splash, splash. I look over at Joe, and my eyes are this big. Joe wears glasses like you, and his eyes are even bigger than glasses. And I got my camera turned on, and my hand's doing this, and you get that little bit of a smell, right?
Right.
And you can hear step in the water. And I'm going, and my heart's just going, I could probably see my heart go through my shirt doing this stuff. And then all of a sudden you could hear it just, and it was gone. You could hear like a water splash.
Right.
So what he was doing was he was walking the stream, which makes sense.
Right, hiding his tracks.
Hiding his tracks. He made us. Yeah, he was probably still a good 10, 15, maybe 15 feet away, but he knew us. He knew we were there. And as soon as we were there, that's where the rocks were. He leaped from the stream up to the rocks. We went back over there, and the only place we thought we knew where he was standing was where we could see some of the water splashing on the rocks. And there were boulders. So he jumped a good 4 or 5 feet. And off he went.
Right.
And that's where one of the markers were. And I looked over at John going, that was awesome.
Yeah, it's an incredible
That was
film.
awesome.
I've had 3 face-to-face encounters in my life too, and actually up here on Pikes Peak. And yeah, it's definitely, you'll never forget it.
Well, I've never had a face-to-face. That's actually the closest. There was another event that I really can't talk about. It's going to be in this book. That that was the other thing I was going to tell you about. That all this stuff that's been going on in my investigations, and then I was on the Science Channel last year for doing this whole episode on the 37th degree latitude or 37th parallel. Well, unbeknownst to me, there was a person who runs Flynn Pictures Production, Bo Flynn, and it's a production company in Hollywood, and he's been kind of following my stuff. I didn't know.
Right.
And then he saw me on a Science Channel, and he started backtracking and started reading some of my blogs on my website, and I got this call from another production associate, and they wanted to talk to me about my my investigations. Well, it turns out that what he did was he contracted Ben Mesrick, who was a really popular author that a couple of books have already gone to movies. One about Facebook and one about the MIT students, and one to Las Vegas and drunk it. Yeah, so both of those were his books, and they went to movies. So they contacted him, and they had him contact me, and he wrote a 3-act script for them to pitch to movie companies, because they wanted to make a movie about my investigations, loosely based on investigation.
Right.
Well, when they got the script, they liked it so well that they were going to pitch it. Their sister company, New Line Cinema, who just came out with San Andreas and Hercules and
Right.
and those other.
Everybody recognizes that?
Yeah, they wanted it, So they
cool.
took it. So right now I have a book being written by Ben Mesrick, and it's going to go to the publishers in October. Then a script it's already been optioned for a movie, and the script will be written, and it might even be done by the end of the year, beginning of the year. Who knows what's going to happen after that? But in June of 2016 is when the book is released, and I'll be with Ben, and we'll be bouncing back and forth.
Great.
Doing a publicity for it. But in the meantime, there may be already a script in the movie in the beginning stages. From what I have learned from Ben, that when I signed my life rights over and everything was go, Bo Flynn, who runs Flynn Productions, that had talked to New Line Cinema, he did a press release on April 10th to the Hollywood Reporter about this new movie that they just bought the rights for the book that hasn't been written yet. And anyway, all of a sudden my name popped up in the Hollywood Reporter. I never thought that it was good. My name was. I thought it was just based on my investigations. It said based on Colorado UFO investigator Chuck Zukowski. I made the Hollywood Reporter? Are you kidding me? So anyway, for the last couple of months, I'm in the process of feeding a lot of information to Ben, writing this book about our investigations, my investigations, the people that I've worked with in the past, my family, a little bit of history before that, and this phenomenal event that I can't talk to you about now because I signed a contract.
No, I understand.
I signed a contract and non-disclosure that said that the main event, but I can tell you that it did involve a Bigfoot sighting.
Right.
So I can tell you that. I can't tell you what happens, but at least you know that.
It's always good to hear something's going on like that. That a mainstream movie that'll be made about investigators, because you know as well as I do, family and friends. Sometimes you tell them about what you do, and you get that look like you got a third eye in the middle of your forehead.
Well, it's been that way all my life. That's
Yeah.
why I'm known as the UFO nut. I've had so many people call me a nut that I decided to have fun with it. And it's on my license plates.
Right.
And it's my website, UFONUT.
Right.
Yeah.
And that sounds awesome.
And
It sounds
we're
like
still
it's gonna
doing
be
it.
And it'll be interesting to see. So, what actor do you want to see play you in the movie?
Not quite sure. I don't know.
You're not thinking like Tom Cruise or no?
Johnny Depp would
Johnny
be,
Depp.
but my luck, it'll be someone you've never seen before, or some. I have no idea.
Be somebody like Pee Wee Herman.
Pee Wee Herman would be interesting. Yeah.
That would be my luck.
No, I really don't. We joke about this. I joke about it with my wife, and Tom Cruise had popped up and stuff. But I don't know how high or high level actors would even consider something like this. So I don't know if is it going to be. No, you had playing Hercules was oh my God, it's The Rock, right? And he's a pretty big guy. When that'd be cool to be played by The Rock. Although I'm not big like him.
No, we would, especially now that we're in our 50s, right?
Exactly. But you're right. With my luck, it'll be like Pee Wee Herman.
Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us for a little while, and we'll get some evidence with you that we can overlay on this interview, and we'll make sure we'll put your website up there and stuff, and we'll keep in touch, and hopefully we'll find out about the book, and good luck with that, and we'll look forward to the movie. We really appreciate you taking your time.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks. Yeah, appreciate it.
Make sure you check out his website, UFONUT.com.